I landed at 12 minutes after 1 in the morning, and it took all night to gather together with 6 guys. There was a group of 7 of us. And that's better than being alone or with just 2. But the Germans are everywhere. And right away, danger was right there. And I, like I say, assembled with 6 others. And we felt pretty secure with 6. I had no weapon. I was a medic. I had a trench knife and a switchblade knife hidden in a little secret pocket, a zipper pocket right here on my blouse, as we call it, my jumpsuit, actually. And all night long, there was firing everywhere. And some of the gliders were still coming in, even an hour or 2 after we landed. And you could hear them. The noise was, you could look up, and in the moonlight you could see the silhouette of the wings and the body of the glider. And we knew how dangerous it was. Trees everywhere and these obstacles. But some of them were getting down and a lot of them weren't. By daybreak, we were heading out to take a bridge over a causeway, we called it. We knew where we were. We only landed a couple of 300 yards from our objective, really. Not bad, considering some of them were 5 miles off. And we started following ditches across the field. And the ditches were not deep, they were shallow. And they started playing out. We were dispersed, very quiet. We were very experienced. Ronzani and Abbey were our lead men. Abbey was the lead, and he was out on a road, a dirt road, fairly sizable dirt road. And Ronzani was right at the gate leading onto the road, and the rest of us were behind and following what little protection there was. And we hear German voices, jabbering in excitement. They were across the road behind the weeds, and they raised up out of those weeds and sprayed us hard and fast with, I suppose, submachine guns, Smizers, they may have called them. There were some rifle shots too. They killed Ronzani and Abbey right quick. They drilled them with machine pistols across the chest. And they came running across, there must have been a full company of them. They came running across the road right out. They knew they had us horribly outnumbered. And we, the ones that weren't right on the road or the gate, we dove in these shallow ditches and tried to hide. I dove in a ditch, and when I realized Germans were pouring over, coming right at us, I crawled down that ditch on hands and knees faster than you could believe a human could do it. And at a little side ditch off of the main ditch, I saw a clump of sod hanging over. And I crawled quickly under that. I'm a small person, and I thought it might save me, but all of a sudden there was a bayonet right in my face. And in German, that guy's hollering, you know, come on out. I understood what he wanted. So I got up, and I'm standing there with my hands behind my head like this, and of course they take off of you whatever they want to, and they grab my aid kit, and one guy took my watch, and pretty soon those guys looking in the ditch for more, and a German stepped up, a young skinny guy, and he takes his pistol out, probably a P-38 or a Ruger, whatever you call it, and he points it right between my eyes, about 2 inches from my forehead. I said, oh my God almighty, I'm a goner for sure. And he puts it away, and another one steps up, and he slams me 3 times with his rifle butt in between my shoulder blades, very harsh. And then he sticks me with the bayonet, not enough to injure me, but enough to split my clothes, and I barely felt it. It wasn't a death type thing. And I thought, well, here's this son of a bitch, you know, I'm an unarmed medic, and he's got guts enough to do that. I've got my Red Cross armband on. And he looked away, and I actually decided to kill him. I still had this switchblade knife, and I looked right at his jugular vein, and he left. And I realized later, if I'd have stabbed him or even hurt him, they'd have killed all four of us in a hurry. But for some reason, that just infuriated the hell out of me, that he would do bodily harm to an unarmed medic. And I'm there trying to save these two guys that were bleeding to death, and every time I'd go to Ronzani and Abbey, they'd force me away from them, bodily force me away. As soon as they'd force me, I'd go back, and they didn't want me to do. I wasn't anything I could do anyway. They were bleeding profusely. They were on their backs, gasping, and the blood was coming right out through the holes in their jumpsuit that the bullets had made in a steady stream. I couldn't believe it. You couldn't even tell when the heart was. It was just a steady stream up 7, 8, 9 inches. So there wasn't anything I could do to them. Real soon they were dead. And Charlie Lee, the only one that got away, he took off and got in a little thicket of brush, no bigger than a small room, had 3 or 4 trees and some brush. And these Germans took the 4 of us prisoners, crossed this road from where they had raised up and fired on us, and they laid us on our backs with our hands interlaced, and this ditch is very shallow. I'm talking about a foot, foot and a half deep at the most. And these 2 young Germans, one on each end of us, pointed their rifles right at our heads. And Lee is trying to kill them. He's firing at them from this, and they're squirming and aiming right at us. And his missed bullets were making strange sounds through the weeds, and their little zit, zit, you know, little noises like that. And then 4 Germans made plans to go get Lee. So they took off running up a road and circled around, and within a minute and a half or 2 minutes, we heard 10 to 12 rifle shots. They killed Charlie Lee, who had never seen his newborn son, but was proud of showing us pictures of the baby when we were in England. So 3 of our group of 7 are dead, and the rest of us prisoners. And right away, they pulled me from the bunch and took me with 2 Germans behind me to the town, I think it was Carentan, and walked me through the streets. It was already 8 o'clock or so in the morning, and the French were up. They were trying to show the French what they had accomplished. And I'm going along there, my shoulders aching, my arms tired like this, and there's 2 guys with their bayonets and their rifles. I'm not going to try to run off with, they just shoot me. So there was different reaction among the French. Some looked very sad and worried, looked me right in the eye, and they looked very worried, and they were concerned about my, you know, my well-being, I could tell. And pretty soon a French lady cursed at me. I guess it's cursed, she sounded like it, and then spit at me. Spit toward my face. She didn't hit me. She was evidently, you know, friends with the Germans, might have been married to one. Hell, they were in there for 4 years, and a lot of French were collaborators, and a lot of them weren't. And so you shake that kind of thing off. What can I do? And this goes on for 60 days. I was a prisoner, and for the first 2.5 days, no food, no water, no liquids. The first night, I was put in a pig shed, just a small one, just had one little door open. It was kind of like sheet metal, and just one little opening, and they put a paratrooper in there that had his leg off just below the knee, and it had had no treatment at all. It had been blown off, and so they put us in there, and he held his leg like this all night, and I had a unit of plasma I had picked up somewhere, but I didn't have enough stuff to make it work, and he trembled all night, and he was very good about it. But the Germans had 2 guys guarding us, and when one would get real tired and sleepy, while the other one would take over. Well, I'm not going to run off and leave a wounded guy there. They didn't even need to be guarding me. I'm not going to leave a wounded guy. But the next morning, we got no sleep, naturally, just sitting there in the dirt. And the next morning, they separated us. They took him somewhere. And they put me on a Paris City street bus with a big red cross on it and piled a bunch of walking wounded Germans on that bus and started out somewhere. I didn't know where the heck we were going. We finally got to St. Lo on the second night, and our American dive bombers had obliterated the downtown. The whole downtown, I saw it from a hillside where they had stopped. There were big bomb holes in the road, and the whole downtown was on fire. Just the whole thing. I came back through there 2 months later, and there wasn't a roof in downtown where you could get out of the rain. I know I came through while it was raining. The whole downtown was gone. But a lot of things happened. The Germans abandoned that bus. I think it was out of gas, and the roads were too bad to follow anyway. They're near town. That night, that first night there at St. Lo, the Germans got out of the bus, most of them. They went in and they evidently ran the people out of the house. It was just a little old house on the side of the road. And sometimes they were pretty good about paying for things. But anyway, pretty soon they had all of us in this little house. And I'm standing there. I've got two wounded Americans to look after, no supplies to work with. So the Germans went out in a little barn, and they got a bunch of straw, and they came in and they spread it out all over the floor and yeah, to the other rooms, just a little house. And I stood there quite a while, and pretty soon in sign language, I asked, well, where should I bed down with these two wounded Americans? So I got a rough voice, says, right there, you know, right there, and pointed down to the floor. So we laid down on this bare floor, and again they had to guard us all night because they were afraid one of us would wake up and grab some of the weapons or something, so we had to be guarded. 2 or 3 stayed up, and they smoked and talked all night. And next morning, we started out walking. We walked, and hell, I didn't know where we were going. And about noon, we came to a road junction, and they didn't seem to know which direction to go. They were going to the town of Mortain. We called it Mortain. It's quite a town, quite a ways inland. And that day about noon, they stopped at this road junction and were deciding where to go, and a Catholic priest walked up, and he was friendly with them. And they visited there for at least a half an hour. And I don't know whether he asked permission or did it on his own, but he walked over to me and handed me either part of a sweet roll or a piece of candy bar. And I split it up between the other 2 guys. It wasn't much, but it was a bite. And he might have asked permission to do that rather than just to do it. But the Germans, they wanted to be mean to us, yet there we were, 2 wounded guys and me with no weapon. Some of them were very mean, especially the guy that was in charge of the group. 29 walking wounded Germans, some of them with heads wrapped up, some with arms in homemade slings, some using limbs off of trees as crutches. So they were a pretty motley bunch, and they're trying to get to Mortain.